Welcome to Crafting in the Night. Today I want to show you 20 works in progress that I'm coming into the month of July with. If you're new here, my name's April and I love to share all things crochet related. So that's patterns, my works in progress, finished objects, tools, tips, and tricks. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. First up is a blanket I call the Granny Illusion. This is using Hobby Lobby's I Love This yarn in a white metallic and a black metallic. And it basically uses a mitered granny square, and it's arranged in a way that once this blanket's finished, it's going to look really cool. So right now I have 6 panels done, and in total I think it's going to be about 16 panels, so 4 of these 4 blocks, but we'll see how big it is when it's finally finished. This project is intended to be a baby blanket size or maybe like a wheelchair lap gown size. But once I get the first 4 full blocks, larger blocks finished, then at that time I'll see how big it is and decide if I want to expand it or not. So that's project number 1, the Granny Illusion Blanket. Project 2 is the double triple ripple. This is my pattern, and you can find a link in the description as well as on my website, craftinginthe.night.com. And I also have a video tutorial for it. And this one I'm just working up in this beautiful camo colorway. And I chose this pattern just because it gives the blanket a really nice texture in what is otherwise kind of a blanket that, due to the nature of camo, blends together. So this is project number 2, the double triple ripple in camo. Blanket number 3 is a neon granny, and this is kind of a neat project for me. It's got the neon centers, and then it has alternating black and white outer rows or repeats for the blocks, and they're going to kind of go in this diagonal fashion, so you can see yellow is diagonal, blue is diagonal, etc. And I do have almost all of the center blocks for this one finished, and I still need to work the outer edge. And then depending on the block, like this white block, when you work this final white layer, it's join as you go, or with these black and white blocks where it's black on the outer edge, that's also join as you go. So I have all the blocks done. I just need to start joining them and get the black and white edgings put on. So this is the neon granny. So if you watched my last whip video, you would have seen this tiny little baby scrap, and I'm calling this one the green blue vines, and I haven't made any progress on it over the past 2 months. It is still on my whips list, and I haven't continued working on it because I wanted to film a video on how I started it off and then kind of as I go. So I'm hoping to get that scheduled over the coming month, and then this will work up really quickly because it's just a simple corner to corner. But I think that you guys are really going to like the kind of patterns, and this is going to be worked up in panels. So I'll also show you the join as you go technique for corner to corner when I do the video for this. So it's an exciting project. I just haven't had the time to sit down and film what I wanted to film before I continue working on it. So this is the green blue vines. Project number 5 is what I'm calling the Patriotic Granny Ripple. So this is my own pattern. It's kind of a simple granny square ripple, and I've got the base finished. And you can see here where we have the red, white, and blue, and then we have these gray granny squares. So next up, I'm going to add in this turquoise color, and then kind of go back to the red, white, and blue, and the gray. So I was hoping to have this one done by July. Doesn't look like that's going to be the case. We'll see. I mean, being a granny square ripple, it does work up fairly quickly, but I haven't worked on this lately, other than I did weave in all of the ends except for the bottom, but I weaved in all the ends on the side in these granny squares. So this is the Patriotic Granny Ripple. Next up is the Retro Corner to Corner Granny. This is another panel blanket. I really love working on the panels because then you can just do one at a time, and it makes it really easy to fold them up, put them in almost any purse or bag, and yeah, they're just fun to work on. So this one is not join as you go, but you can see, let's see here. It's going to join together kind of like this and make a chevron. And what happened with this one was I had done a couple of these strips and then put it away for a little while and then did a couple more. And when that happened, they came out to different lengths. And so what I wound up having to do is block it so that they would match up. So I already finished blocking it. I have one more strip left to go on this. I wanted to film that as part of the tutorial, and then I'm going to join them all together using a granny stitch in this kind of off-white color. Now for project number 7, these are actually multiple projects, but I count them as one because they all have the same theme or the same idea. And this is my temperature blankets. So what I'm working on is a variety of temperature blanket ideas. This is a Battenberg style temperature blanket. And then here's a corner to corner one, which you can see is a nightmare of ends already. So while this looks great from one side, it kind of was a bad idea from the other side. I suppose if I had kept up with the ends, it wouldn't be a big deal. I also started a moss stitch square one, but I'm not sure if I'll continue with that. And then a fan stitch. So this is actually a vintage pattern. So I'm not quite sure which one I'm going to continue with, but probably for sure the Battenberg blanket to start. What I wanted to do was these are all using temperatures from 2022. What I wanted to do was work the same temperature scheme in a variety of different blanket patterns so that I could showcase on my website how the pattern really makes a difference even when you're playing with the same colors or the same temperature chart for the colors and the same temperatures. So that's still one I do plan on working on. However, to be honest, it's gonna kind of go in a UFO or unfinished object pile for a little while, and I don't plan on making any headway in the month of July, but it is technically still a WIP. WIPs 8 and 9 are actually two that I really do want to try and get some more done on this month. The first up is a pattern that I found on Etsy called Princess Polka Dots. And I'll be sure to link that in the description. But what I'm doing, the pattern creator had a really nice kind of layout of rainbow polka dots. And I thought that was great. But what I wanted to do with this one was just take a mandala sparkle and kind of let the colors flow up the blanket instead. And so this is the colorway Orion, and I've paired that with a white. And then I'm joining these little octagons, and I don't know if you can see that, but with a flat braid join with Karen's Simply Soft Party. So just this braided join here has a little bit of sparkle, and then the Orion has a little bit of sparkle, and then this is just Pound of Love in white. So that's the Princess Polka Dots, and again, I'll link the pattern below. And then in addition to that, I have another one that I'm doing with these little flowers. Again, they're kind of this pretty flower, and I don't know the pattern creator offhand, but I'll link it below. And so I've various colors, and what I did for that was I took a skein of mandala yarn and I just broke it down into all the little balls. And so I'll kind of reach in there and grab two colors, and then I'll make a flower out of those two colors. And sometimes I make a single color flower, and sometimes I make a 2-color flower, but eventually all of these flower motifs will be joined together. It's a really beautiful pattern, and it is a free pattern, and again, I'll link it in the description. So at number 10, we've reached our halfway point. This is the corner to corner blanket using a Karen cotton cake, and this one is just about 36 inches wide at this point. And I still have this much left of one skein, so I've used a whole skein already for this. I still have a lot left of a second skein, and then I have a third skein. So my plan here is to try to work through about half of this to make it as big as that's going to be, and then I'll start decreasing once I get to about the halfway point, and then I'll have to figure out some kind of a border. I might do a yellow or maybe a white. What do you think? Would a white look okay for this blanket even though there's no white in the pattern? Let me know in the comments. WIP number 11 is actually a gift, so I won't be showing it. Let's have a look at WIP number 12. This is a blanket I'm calling Purple Fields, and it's using just a blanket stitch, and I'm alternating between a variegated, a dark purple, a light purple, and like an ecru. I love the texture that's working up on this. It is kind of slow going, but it's so soft and just absolutely beautiful. So this is, again, Purple Fields. 13 is a hooked on sunshine pattern called Briar Rose, and I'm working this up in various colors. Let me make sure, yeah, that's the right side. Various colors of Big Twist. So we're using a nice yellow, a light baby pink, white, purple, gray, and it's working up so beautifully. and I do plan on working on this month, and hopefully we can get it finished. It doesn't have that much more to go, probably 1 to 2 more repeats of this section here. So we'll see, but this is a Hooked on Sunshine pattern. Again, I'll link it below. This one's called Briar Rose. Number 14 is what I'm calling a modern granny. And if you watched this week's podcast, you would have seen this. This is various colors of Lion Brand Heartland. And I actually ran out of this color with 1 more square left to go. So I went and bought that. Thankfully, it was on sale at Joann's today. So we went and got the last square that I need. So for this one, I still have a bunch of ends to weave in, and then I am going to be binding this off in this gray neutral. So that's kind of the neutral that I chose. I did want like an off-white or a white, but at the time Lion Brand Heartland yarn didn't have it in stock, so I'm going to use this gray, and I think it's going to work out beautifully. I believe it was 90 squares of the colors and then 90 squares of the neutral, so this still has a long way to go. I have to finish weaving in the end on the colored squares, and then I need to create the neutral squares, and then I'll join them as I go to the colors. So that'll be fun, and again, this is one I am actively working on and hope to have finished by the end of the month. Number 15 is this Hexagon Cardigan, and it's been really hot, so I don't plan on making any progress on this for July. It is using neon stripes and then black Red Heart Super Saver. Truly, it's almost done. I need to add a little bit of length to the sleeves, a little bit of length to the bottom here, but it's just been really hot, and so this is kind of on the backlog. It's going to be easy to finish, but it's not a priority right now. Having to try it on and test it and see is not, it's been too hot for that. So, but this is my Hexagon Cardigan. Number 16 is still one of my all-time favorite blankets that I've created so far, and this is one that I call Rainbow Waves. As soon as this is done, I will be working up a tutorial and a pattern for you, including a color chart if you wanted to duplicate these colors. I absolutely love how this one went together. So what I've been working on for this is weaving in the ends. I've got this side completely done, and I think I have 60 more tails to weave in on this side. So what I did was I took a stitch marker for every 10, and that kind of gives me little chunks to work on. And in fact, this morning I made it up this far, so these are all done, and then I just have this kind of longer section left. So I do plan on having this done over the coming week, and once that's done, what I'm going to do is square off the edge and then add a ruffle border. Now, honestly, this project doesn't really need a border. The sides are so perfectly straight that it would be fine without it, but this is going to be a gift for a little girl, and I think that the ruffle border just gives it that extra little bit of femininity and kind of princess frilliness that I love as an adult girl, so I know a little girl would love it as well. Number 17 is a blanket I call Country Fields. This one is worked up in what I call John Deere colors, and this is a Yarnspirations pattern. I'll be sure to link it in the description below. I do have a few ends on this to weave in, and then I have about 2 more repeats to finish to get this finished off. So I do plan on finishing this one in the month of July. It's a really quick and easy blanket to work up. The only issue I kind of had with it is I started this when I was a little bit newer to crochet and then kind of stored it away, you know, in a nice dark place. But in some areas, I didn't go into the correct stitch at the end, so the edges are kind of wavy. But now that I have more experience, I'll be able to fix that no problem with a nice border. So I'm really looking forward to getting this finished. There's a lot of colors in this blanket, so if we think that it's going to be for a little boy, what color would you guys use for the border? Let me know in the comments below. So again, that's the Country Fields, or what I'm calling the Country Fields blanket. So when I finish making a blanket, I do store it in dark tubs so that it's not going to get dusty or dirty or get bugs or have light hit it so that it's going to fade, because I like crocheting, but I don't really have people that I give these blankets to, so I kind of store them until there's a need. So one of the blankets I found as I was going through my tubs is this Marshmallow Blanket. Now, I thought I had finished this blanket, but it turns out I still have some ends to weave in, and I just haven't had the kind of inspiration to get back to it to finish weaving these. But this is on the plan this month to weave in these ends and then put this away for later. But I want to at least finally have it done, not, you know, hiding in a finished projects bin somewhere up in my closet that I go and dig into to give to somebody or something, and then it's actually not done. So I'm hoping to have this done this month. This is, again, the Marshmallow Blanket. There is a free pattern for this one, so I'll link it in the description below. We're down to our last two. First up is the Vintage Panel Baby Blanket. This is one that I had you guys vote on what the contrasting color should be in the community tab, and the winning votes were cast for light gray. This one is almost done. I've finally finished weaving in all the ends on where I connected the panels. So now I just have to put this puff stitch around the whole outer edge and then work on the lacy border. So this one will be finished in the month of July. It's been super fun to work on and kind of translate the old stitch wording or the old pattern wording. So this one, the pattern called for it to be worked up in panels, but I also had these Karen Cinnamon Swirl Cakes, and so I decided to work up one big blanket of it as well. Just this stitch was so super fun. I will have a tutorial. This is a stitch I hadn't seen before, and I had done a bunch of research to try to find if it had, you know, if anybody else had it or if it had a name. I couldn't find it online, so I'm going to call it the Sprinkle Stitch, and I will have a tutorial up for this soon. Probably as soon as these blankets get done, I'll film the tutorial and then put the patterns for both up on the website as well, so stay tuned for that. I hope you've enjoyed taking a look at the 20 works in progress that I have as we go into the month of July. Now again, I don't plan on working on every single one of these projects during this month, but it's just kind of a good look at how my brain works as far as wanting to have lots of different options when I go to pick up a project. There are some, like this one here, these two here, that are very near completion. So actually all three that are behind me, I do plan on having completed this month. And of course, I'll be able to show you updates in my weekly podcast. So if you haven't subscribed, to be sure to do that. Let me know in the comments, how many whips do you have? Do you think 20 is too many? I think the answer most people would have to that is yes, but again, that's how my brain works. Until next time, keep calm and crochet on.